Good morning. Magandang umaga po. Are you going to have enough money for you to retire? Will my savings survive my retirement? That is what we're going to talk about. Stay with me. Okay, in putting together a plan or budget, there are 4 items that you need to know. How much money you have now when you retire, how much income I will make out of that money, any other income I have, if any, meaning the sources of income that you have, and lastly, your living expenses that you anticipate having. The things we're going to talk about is how to do this, put them together in a way that it will tell you how much time you have for you to run out of cash, or let's say you have enough cash at the end of 20 years, how much you might have left behind to leave your heirs. What we're not going to talk about is how to put together a budget on how you live in the Philippines, because that can vary quite a bit on a case-to-case basis. It depends on where you live, it depends on your lifestyle, it depends on what you want and don't want. So that is a very personal thing. Maybe sometime later, once I'm in the Philippines, I can show you based on my real experience what my expenses are. And you can judge for yourself if you can survive in the Philippines or overseas. Now, I am going to present this to you in dollar form, but keep in mind that you can do this in peso form by simply converting the numbers to pesos. Anyway, the numbers that I will show you are example for illustrative purposes only. Keep that in mind, only. So you will have to put your own numbers, how much money you're going to receive on Social Security, where you're going to put your money, and what kind of return you expect to have, how much my living expenses are going to be, and of course, how much cash do I have to begin with when I retire. So let's get on with it.
Okay, we will be looking at a 20-year time horizon. Okay, 20 years. So we'll start with year 1 and we'll move on up to 20 years. Now, the most important thing is on this year 1, and let me explain this because this is where we will spend most of our time. You know the savings you have when you retire, so that one is easy. The next question is how much interest or revenue are you going to make on this $100,000? This is an assumption that you will have to make. Will I make just interest income and not from stock investments? And by the way, for older people, unless you have a lot of money to spare, I would suggest that you just keep it in interest-bearing account to protect the principal that you have. Okay, so right now I think you will get maybe anywhere from 0.5% to 0.7%, depending on which interest-bearing note you have, and these CDs are insured. You're very secure that you're not going to lose the money. Of course, also guarantee that you're not going to make as much money as when you have it in stock. You may be tempted to invest it in stocks because of a potential return, but keep in mind that when there is a potential return, there's also a potential loss. So if the market turns around, it goes south, then you could lose a lot of money too. So that's a decision you have to make, but this is an assumption that you will have to make, which is subject to change. The next thing is, in this example, let's assume that you have 100,000 when you retire. If you're making 0.7% a year, you will only make $700 a year, almost nothing, to be honest. Okay. Now, pension and Social Security, most people will only receive Social Security, some combination of Social Security and pension, or 401k and so forth and so on. And let's say that you will be receiving 1,000, I think that's 1,100 a month. That's $13,200 a year. Now, that is not much, but to be honest with you, a lot of people make less than 1,000, and a lot of people also make over $2,000. So So where you are, I don't know, but again, this is just an example. Okay, let's say that you're making 1,100 a month or 13,200 a year, and usually there is what they call COLA, or cost of living adjustment every year that gets adjusted by an index. And last year was pretty high at 0.5. I know before it was as high as 2%, but lately it has been 0.1, 0.2, and last year was the highest in the past so many years. It's, I think, 0.5, and that will go up over time. Now, the expenses, you will have to figure this out yourself. As I mentioned in my introductory video, we're not going to talk about how you put this thing together. To be honest, this is the list of expenses, potential expenses you have. Let's unhide this. Okay, there you go. You have some housing, food, electric, water, gas, transportation, telephone, cable TV, loans, etc. Okay, now either you have a rental or you have you own your own house, in which case you will have real estate taxes. Now, food, dining, and grocery, that's common sense. Electric, utility, whether you have a rental or a housing or a house, I should say, you will probably be spending money on electricity and water. If you have a car, you spend money on gas and repairs, and if you don't, you spend money on transportation like jeepney and so forth and so on. Telephone, either you have a landline or a cell phone or both. Cable TV, maybe you decide not to do cable TV. And then it depends on what you have in form of loans, either a credit card loan or a car loan or mortgage on a house, and maybe some other things that you have. But again, we are going to assume, I lump them all as one, that your budget will be 30,000 per year, and you were talking about 2,500 per month. That is not a lot in the United States. In the United States, $3,000 a month is not a luxury, okay? Because on rental alone, you will spend maybe about 1,000 or more to rent an apartment. Of course, you can rent a cheap apartment, but you'll be living in a zero-bedroom apartment, maybe like a studio or something. So it all depends on your situation, and that is the reason we're not going to talk about this. We'll just assume $30,000 is your budget, okay? So now let's hide this thing again. There you go. All right. Now, we are going to project this over 20 years. So let's see what we have. And hide. There you go. All right. So now, at the beginning of the year, you have $100,000. And if you make 0.7%, that's $700 for the year. Let's say Social Security, you have $13,200. Those are your income. And if you have other income, like from businesses and all that, you can also lump it here, include it here. Now, the expense, during the initial year, you will do a detailed calculation as I just showed you. And let's say you came up with $30,000. Then for the future years, unless something significant happened to you, you just increase that by the inflation rate. So assume that you'll be spending money on more or less the same thing, but then there is inflation. So let's assume inflation rate of 1.2. It's fairly low right now, but it's starting to creep up. Okay, so now if you started with 100,000 plus 700 plus 13.2 minus 30,000, you end up the year at 83,900. If you ended the year in year one of 83,900, that will be your beginning balance at the beginning of year two. Then you go through the same thing all over again. Now second year, you're down to 67,000 and so forth and so on. Okay? You do this for the entire 20-year period. And in this illustration, you will see that year 6, you'll run out of money. Okay? You will run out of money. So let's say you double this to 200,000. How long is this thing going to last? Let's say you have $200,000. You raise that, and now you have positive money until year 11. And then at the end of year 12, you will be short of cash. So the next question you ask yourself is, assuming all these assumptions are correct, let's say you cannot trim this down anymore, this $30,000, what do you need for you to survive? And this is for the younger people who are still capable of saving money. Now, if the 187 is a negative, you want to survive 20 years, or you think you'll survive 20 years or less, but probably no more, and then how much money do you need here for you to be okay until year 20? Well, let's do a what-if analysis and say goal seek that to 0 by changing this number. Now you see it's 0. That means you need $367,000. That is the amount of money you need to save. So again, for the younger ones, say how many years do I have to go, and then how many years or how much should I put aside so that when I retire, I will have $367,000. Now, if you do not have this money today, and these are the expenses you have, you're going to run short of cash at this point, unless you pass away, let's say in year 10 or year 5, which is another unknown. Unfortunately, that's something we cannot plan for, could we? So this is the beauty of being able to do this thing on your own. A so-called financial planner may only sell you insurance and such, which protects their interest and not yours, and they will promise you will make so much. It's okay to listen to them, but don't get carried away. Do your own analysis and see how you're going to survive. Now, asking me about my philosophy. This is what I do. Let's put this back to $100,000. I say to myself, what can I do so that my expenses will equal the pension that I have? This way, I do not dig into the savings of $100,000. That means you have to limit it to $13,200. Well, in many cases, you can, especially if you are in the United States. Okay? And that is the reason a lot of people are going to the Philippines because of the low cost of living. In the Philippines, you can survive with that kind of money. Okay? And it will still be a little bit short than what you'd like it to be, but at least you will survive. In the U.S., there is no way you can do that. And that's why for a lot of people, some people move to Mexico for the same reason, for financial reason. And some of them, actually, that's how I'm doing it, do it for a different lifestyle, different experience, and ease of travel. Well, by ease of travel, I'm talking about cost-wise. I have traveled all over Europe. Now it's time for me to go to Asia, and it's also cheaper in Asia. So I think my plan is okay. So I will enjoy my retirement traveling around the Philippines and be able to maintain a decent cost of living. So this decent lifestyle, I should say. All right. So this is how you put this thing together.
Okay, there you have it. So as you can see, if you have Excel, you can do this thing very fast. If you know how to use Excel also, you can do this very quickly. And you can do what if, like, well, how much do I need? Let's say you're still young and you're still working. How much do I need so that I will have so much, or I can spend so much at the end of, during the retirement years? You can do this with Excel. Now, if you do not have Excel, you'll have to do it manually. It can be done. It's very doable. It will take a little longer, so you have to be patient. Anyway, on Excel, you have to develop the formulas and such. You have to put together the model. But if you're proficient at using Excel, it'll be fun. You can do a lot of what-ifs. And hopefully this will shed some light as far as you're concerned, how long it's going to take you to exhaust the savings that you have. And it will be up for you to determine how much money you need to save to prepare for retirement. And if you're already getting retired, well, we have no choice. We'll have to adjust maybe the living expenses, where we're going to live, how we can control expenses, and survive based on the number of years you anticipate to be alive. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and please put your comments down below if you agree, disagree, or whatever. And I will appreciate you sharing this with others, especially the younger generation who still have a chance to accumulate enough funds for their retirement. And please do subscribe. Thank you so much, and make it a great day.